Thank you very much, Josie, and IPOPI, the board members, for the opportunity to bring some information. Well, Brazil is, here we go, very big country with about 200 million people and has the 8th or 9th economy of the world, similar to Canada, except that we have to divide that money for 200 million people. So we have many issues to discuss, and I have made a choice to discuss a topic of plasma shortage, which is of general interest, I think, for the entire world. We have been working through the educational program in Brazil and in Latin America in the last 20 years and have found many patients. Most of our patients are defective antibody diseases. And putting together with the combined immunodeficiencies and syndromes, so we would assume that in Latin America, about 75% of our patients will need immunoglobulin replacement therapy. This graph from Market Research Bureau will clearly show the increasing needs of immunoglobulin and plasma products in Brazil, as well as in other Latin American countries. Particularly, during a period of 5 years, we have increased to 200% the prescription of immunoglobulin for primary immunodeficiencies. This is not so up-to-date because of the political issues in the country, so I did not have access to the most recent data, but I'm sure it continues to increase. So what is the market for now? We have the presence of the several international companies in the country, and including our own company, which is Hemobras. Hemobras was created a couple of years ago, and it has a mission to start plasma fractionation in the country. So Hemobras made some arrangements for technology transfer and plasma purification, plasma fractionation in the country. The factory is ready in north of Brazil. However, it still does not work. Because if it's a government problem, it's a government company, and because of the many political issues in the country, so the project is delayed. Don't ask me until when. Let's see. So what are the major bottlenecks in the country? For now, what we do is that we collect whole blood for medical emergencies. And Hemobras and the Ministry of Health ask the blood banks to store the plasma. However, it is not yet organized, and unfortunately, most of the plasma is actually discarded after a certain period because there is not enough structure to send this plasma out of the country for fractionation, and Hemobras does not work yet. And there is another problem related with the Brazilian law, and this is actually true for most of the Latin American countries. The law is old, and it was set up for organ donations and blood donations, whole blood donations for medical emergencies. So for now, it is forbidden in the country to collect plasma and fractionate for commercial issues, for commercial purposes. So the law has to change. The solution is that we have, as a society, and I think it is very important that IPOPI, IDF, and all of the international organizations, we should reach out to WHO. So it is important as a political positive action to make aware about the situation in Latin America, as LASID has played a very important role in developing the primary immunodeficiencies area in all of the countries. The number of patients are increasing exponentially. Actually, we started newborn screening in Brazil. I'll provide you some information. And as well, we are starting to develop the calculated globulin project, and we'll try to implement it in 1 or 2 years for populational screening of antibody defects. Brazil is half of Latin America, so it's a country with 200 million inhabitants, and for the rest of Latin America, there are educational efforts. So, we have to do something, and it's important the international engagement to discuss and play a political game and start changing the regulatory, the laws, rules and regulations, and introduce plasma fractionation in Latin America. Additionally, we have tropical diseases, dengue, Zika, yellow fever, and so ever. So, we need specific antibodies for that. And it's better for the immunodeficient patient in Latin America to be treated with local plasma, where you will find local antibodies related to our diseases. And as a last information, last Monday, I was defending the newborn screening project for the National Agency of Health. And in our country, we have both systems, the private and the public. The public will cover 100% of the population, and the private will cover, with the insurance companies, like 25% of the population. So it was the Brazilian Medical Association approved the TRAX as a good procedure for newborn screening after we have run 4 pilots, including over 100,000 babies, and putting together the active search through the educational program, plus the newborn screening itself. In the last 8 years, we have collected around 50 SCID babies and introduced the treatment, and this reality already changed in Brazil. So we have started with 100% death for absolutely neglected disease. SCID was absolutely neglected in Brazil, and now the pediatricians and allergists and the society itself is more conscious about that. So there is a great social pressure for diagnosing SCID and other rare diseases through the newborn screening, and the government is starting to pay attention on that. For the federal district, where our capital, Brasilia, is, now it's law. So all of the newborns will be screened for SCID and for gamma-globulinemia as well. And for the next year, 55 million Brazilians will have access to this through the insurance companies, and then the government we will work next to make it all inclusive. So for now, 55 million people is a significant number, is equivalent to an European country like Spain, France, Italy, or whatever. So we are finally in the map regarding newborn screening. It will be the first developing country to introduce it in a country where tuberculosis is prevalent, and we will have to deal with the BCG issue, which is another thing very different, very difficult to sell to the authorities and even for the doctors, because the BCG is like a kind of religion in our countries. But that's our mission, and we will do the very best. Thank you very much.